Greetings, and in this short video presentation, we'll see how we go about configuring the FTP server on a Linux Fedora server. For this presentation, I'm going to log on to my Fedora server as root, and I'll type in my password. Give it a second to boot up. As usual, we will be using the command line, so I'm going to go to Activities. Up here inside of the search, I'm going to type in term, and then I'm going to launch the terminal. I'm going to go ahead and perform a update, and then we're going to do an install of the FTP service. To perform the update, I'll be using the DNF command, and I'm going to add the -y to answer any questions that might be asked. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. In just a moment, the update process will begin. If you have a problem running the update or the upgrade command using DNF, just replace DNF with the yum command, Y-U-M. So the update process for my Fedora server has completed, and I'm now ready to move on with installing the FTP service for this particular machine. So I'm just going to take this from my lab file, copy it on over. I'm going to right click inside my terminal window and paste. Now the command that I'm going to use to install this particular service is DNF space install, the name of the service. In this case, it is the FTPD service. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And in just a moment, the installation should complete. I'm going to have to answer the question here. Just tell it to proceed. And now the downloading of the packages will begin. Once the FTP package has been downloaded and installed, we need to start the FTP service. To do this, I'm just going to again copy this off of my lab file. I'm going to type in systemctl space start space fsftpd, and I'm going to hit enter. And the service has started. The next thing we need to do is confirm that the FTP service has started. To do this, I'm going to use the status option with the systemctl command. And I'm going to follow that up with what status I want to check on, which is the fsftpd service. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter with that, and we see that the service is running. To get back to a command prompt, all we have to do is just hit the Control plus the C key on our keyboard, and that breaks the sequence. To view the files and the directories that are associated with our FTP server, we have to change directory location. And to do this, we just type in cd space /etc/fstpd, and I'm going to hit enter, and notice that my command prompt changes to let me know that I am now over into the fstpd directory. Now I need to show what is inside of this directory. To do this, I use the list command, which is ls. And you'll see that I have 4 files inside of here. The one file that controls the behavior of your FTP server is the fstpd.config file. And we're now going to open this up using a text editor. Now the text editor that I'm going to use is Nano. You are free to use Vim or whatever text editor you want to use. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and now I have the inside of this text file available to me for editing. Now notice that everything that is not being read by the FTP server is preceded with a shebang. That is the £. So if you see a shebang or a £sign in front of a line, that is being ignored by the FTP server. So anything that does not have a shebang is being read by the FTP server as part of its configuration. And this is what's going to tell it how to behave. In this case, we have allow anonymous FTP service. They're asking a question. It is enabled by default. So anonymous access is enabled by default. And you go down here, and when SE Linux is enforcing check for SC boot FTP home directory local _ enable, it is set to yes. So go through here and match this up with the table that you see inside of your lab file, and you'll be able to associate why your FTP server is going to behave the way it does. Now all of this is editable. So if you don't want anonymous access for your FTP server, then you have to configure it to allow specific users to have access. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the file by hitting Control X. That's the exit. Now what I want to do is go over here to Activities, and I want to bring up a web browser. I'm going to type in the address for my FTP directory, and we're going to see if this works. So my browser has opened. I've opened up a new tab, and now I want to go to the directory where my FTP files would be stored. To do this, all I have to do is type in FTP:// the loopback address, or I can use the name localhost to access my FTP folder. So FTP is just a service, much like HTTP. HTTP runs on port 80. FTP runs on port 21. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and now I have the actual directory where I can store files that I want to share for my FTP. So the default location for our FTP files is going to be up inside of the var folder inside of a directory called FTP. Now I'm going to go ahead and change directory over to that location, and notice that my prompt changes to let me know that I'm now inside of the FTP directory. What we need to do now is create a file or a folder or a directory, whatever you want to call it, so that we can store something inside of it that can be shared via the FTP service. In this example, we're going to make a directory, and the directory is going to be called Shared Movies. You can call it Shared Applications. You can call it the Administrator folder. You can call it anything you want, but for this example, we're just going to call it Shared Movies. I'm going to hit enter. Now I have that particular folder or that directory created, and I can prove this just by typing in ls, and there is my new folder or directory, however you like to refer to it as. So once I've created the new directory, I can then open up my browser on my server, and I can confirm that the directory does now exist. So that's all there is to configuring Fedora's server to be an FTP server. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.